All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another discussion for Avengers Infinity War. We just uploaded the spoiler-free one, which means, logically, the next step would be to gush about the spoilers, which is what we're going to do today in all of its glory. I should have got myself a beverage, but I didn't. We're gonna wing it. So Avengers Infinity War was an amazing movie. We can all agree on that. But I don't think we all anticipated how much of a roller coaster of emotions this film would be. Like, Captain America Civil War already set the bar pretty high in terms of really being tearing your heart into different directions and just not knowing who you want to side with, whether it's Captain America or Iron Man. I mean, obviously it's going to be Captain America, but it's just, you were kind of conflicted when you came out of that movie. Even though Tony was kind of right in a lot of respects, you just didn't agree with the way he was going about things. And when you think about it, Tony is the reason why we get into so many predicaments that we are in. Anyways, regardless of that, Infinity War is just a different fucking beast, man. Like, what this movie does to you before, during, after, and then on the car ride home, and then when you get into bed, and then in your dreams, and then when you wake up in the morning and you see an Avengers trailer when you're at the gym, it's unlike any movie, man. So when I saw the movie, I actually saw it on Saturday night. Me being a dumbass, I didn't pre-order my tickets because I thought to myself, okay, nobody is gonna see this movie at 9 a.m. IMAX showing. No one's gonna go there. I checked Regal Cinemas the night before. Bro, there was one seat available for a 9 a.m. showing. So my dumbass was like, okay, nobody is going to see a noon showing for Avengers because, you know, it's right after the matinee and everything, so it's going to be full price. I don't know how, but that one seat disappeared, so that was even sold out. So, moral of the story, if you have a movie on the scale of Avengers, pre-order your fucking ticket, which I should have done so I didn't have to drive 20 minutes to an AMC. Anyways, this movie, right from the jump, right? The first intro, like Kevin Feige has been talking about this for the past year. When you see Thanos on screen, you will see why he is to be feared. You will see why Gamora and all of these guys who have interacted with Thanos are terrified of him. And that is what we got with the opening of the film. It takes place literally right after the post-credits of Thor Ragnarok, where the Asgardians, who are whatever's left after the events of Ragnarok, they see Thanos' ship. And we don't actually get to see the destruction of the ship, but when it opens up and you hear the distress calls, and you see the mountains of bodies and corpses, yet this movie is not afraid to go dark. It really isn't. You see the corpses of the Asgardians, some are still alive. Heimdall, for example, is holding on for dear life. And you see Thanos and the Black Order. Thanos is over there cradling Thor's head. And when I mean cradle, I mean this guy has his fucking death hook grip on it like that. And he's torturing him for information about where the Tesseract is, because it has the stone in it. And then you see Loki, right? And part of you is thinking, okay, so judging by the trailers, we see that Loki is going to try to become, I guess, the Mephisto to Thanos. Mephisto is the character who's in the comics, right? Where he's like Thanos' advisor, if you will. He's going to try to help him out because he knows Earth and he knows where the stones potentially could be and he knows the Avengers and yada, yada, yada. Nah, Thanos ain't playing that shit. He's like, in his straight up Kratos voice impersonation, boy, you failed already. So why am I going to trust you? So Loki tries his very best to kind of woo Thanos, but then you see that, you know, the events of Thor Ragnarok, Loki actually has a heart and he was going to betray Thanos on the spot. He was going to stab him. He's like, if I can't do anything else, I know these guys are to rip me to shreds. I'm going to kill you. And he tries to kill Thanos and that goes about as well as you would expect. Thanos grabs him by the fingers and then chokes the life out of him. Not before Loki says, you will never win, or something along those lines. And we see him kill Loki right there. So off the jump, your favorite character has no immunity at all, because Loki has been a fan favorite character throughout all the years. And that's, I think, part of the reason why even if he's in a movie for just like 5-10 minutes, he's still there. But they showed that, nah, this does not matter. And like I said, you see Thanos kill him very brutally, and then you see his corpse right there, and Thor has to sit there and watch it. Not only that, rewind a second. Thanos makes quick work of the Hulk, man. Literally, when you see like Hulk fighting Thanos, you're thinking, okay, this is gonna be an even fight because there's two big dudes, right? One of them is green, one of them is purple. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. And what really just fucks it all up is one of the members of the Black Order was gonna go intervene, and then the other guy was like, no, 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 no. Let him have his fun. You know shit is about to be screwed up. And then Thanos, in a very similar fashion to Loki, with only 2 fucking fingers, boop, book him, book him. Whew. Like, he literally, like, he was this close. Like, this close to becoming the new Bane. Like, I thought he was about to break the Hulk's back. It's gonna be like the day the Hulk's back broke, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, man, as you can see right there, Thanos is not messing around. He already decked 2 Avengers and one of the strongest villains to oppose the Avengers in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Now you guys know what I was talking about when I said that this film is literally the Star Wars, like the original OG Star Wars for a new generation. Like the first 5 minutes of A New Hope, that's what we're getting here. But it's even worse because we see Thanos' scale and scope with some of our favorite characters, and we see how helpless and powerless they are. And when Bruce Banner goes back to Earth, right? Heimdall actually sacrifices his life to open up the Bifrost or whatever to send Hulk back, and that's how he dies. Unfortunately, he dies a hero. Just like Mark Ruffalo and his performance when he runs into some of the OG characters like Tony and Pepper, just his like reaction to Thanos and what he witnessed was just, it was horrifying, man. He was just like, Tony. It was bad, man. It was bad. And like I said, this is what you need to set the overall, like, the mood for the film. The stakes are so high when you see all of your favorite characters get decked. And then from there, it's kind of like Thanos' quest where he's going around trying to find all of the stones. And as you can surmise by the end of the movie, he succeeds. But one thing I wish we had seen is how he gets the Power Stone, because the movie opens up and he already has it. So I wanted to see him decimate Xandar. Like, I wanted to see him go up against the Nova Corps. But considering that, you know, he already, like, I don't think they wanted to make it repetitive as in them going to find each and every single stone, because that would have been, I guess, too repetitive, if you catch my drift. Because if we can do freaking, what, like 5 out of 6, it'll be okay. But if we do all 6, it's just like, man, what are we doing? Then again, James Gunn did executive produce this movie, so maybe they did film that scene and it's going to be in part 2, who knows, I'm not sure. Or maybe it is, like I said, they don't want to show all the destruction. They just want the intro for this movie to be an indication of, okay, he's not scared at all to gleefully murder an entire population of people just for the stone. So if he would do that to regular people, the Nova Corps is just like, the best scene I can describe to be one of those people who are at the Nova Corps is the scene in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Jeffrey thinks he won the lottery. He's just like, I quit! I quit! That would literally be me if I saw that freaking warship coming down. Oh man, but yeah, throughout the course of the movie, it kind of progresses as you would expect, judging by the trailers. Speaking of the trailers, let's talk about that a little bit. The Russo brothers were very clever and sneaky with the way they shot this movie, because there are a lot of scenes in the trailers that play out differently in the movie, and there are a lot of scenes in the trailers that don't even appear in the movies. Like, you know that epic scene at the end of the first trailer where you had all the characters in Wakanda and they were running towards the camera? That wasn't in the movie at all. Do you know the scene where Hulkbuster shows up on the Wakanda turf and you're thinking, okay, who is that? Is that like Rhodey or something, even though I know he's flying in the end credits? That was actually Bruce Banner. That was the Hulk, and the reason why the Hulk needs to be in the Hulkbuster armor and why they didn't want to show it in the trailer was because Thanos decked the Hulk so bad that he does not even want to come out at all, man. Not even. Like, Thanos freaking kicked the Hulk into phase 5. That's what he did, because the Hulk, when Bruce is trying to summon him, he's just like, no, bruh, like literally without killing the Hulk. He killed the Hulk. That's what he did, man. It's like, Thanos kills the Hulk. That's the title of the movie, man. It was so funny, like when you try to see him transform and he's just like, damn it, man. So Hulk is basically useless for the entire movie when you think about it, which I know is going to piss some people off, considering the Hulk hasn't gotten a movie since 2008, and he's kind of just showing up on their terms. So whether it's an Avengers movie or Thor Ragnarok, he's just kind of there in the background minding his business for the most part, which kind of sucks, I know, for all the Hulk fans out there. But it's kind of like one of those things where it's just like, man, it is what it is. There's so many more important characters that we got to deal with. And no disrespect, Hulk. So throughout the course of the movie, man, as Thanos is going on here, you start to realize that this isn't really an Avengers movie. This is a Thanos origin story, because we see Thanos and what he's doing to get the stones, but we also get to see glimpses into the past and how just like how much of a mad titan this guy was to try to bring balance to the universe. Like his motivations and everything is just handled so well in this movie that I was just astonished, because when have we ever gotten a movie where we dedicate more than half of the screen time just to the villain and developing him? It's kind of unheard of, but it's something you need to do in this situation. So we see how his past ties into Gamora and why she resents him so much, and you know that comes back to rear its ugly head in this movie. And it's just so, like, I can't stop geeking out about Thanos if I don't sound like a broken record already, because I was so interested and invested into this guy and what makes him tick that I wanted to see what would happen when he would get all the stones. Like, no shame, I'm gonna be like those, you know, weird-ass dudes who come out of the movie and they're like, you know what? You know what? Thanos didn't do anything wrong. I think he was onto something, because he's just that compelling of a villain. I know I'm gonna be in the minority here. I mean, I'm already a minority, so I'm gonna be a double minority, or maybe a triple minority. Does it count if I wear glasses? According to Dwight Schrute, it does. I'm obsessed with The Office, if you guys couldn't tell by now. But yeah, man, like him going to get all the soul stones, like all the soul stones, all of the infinity stones, it's just like an adventure in and of itself, because we get to see like a different side of Thanos. Like when he went to go get the reality stone and he was torturing the Collector, like I love that scene so much, because when you're watching it and you're thinking like, okay, they're gonna find a way to stop this guy and prevent him from getting the stone, come to find out by the end of it, he already had the stone in the first place. He knew these guys were gonna come for the stone, and he created this entirely different reality. And you actually do get to see the gauntlet on display and see what it's capable of, man. Like that scene right there, I was just like, yep. If I didn't want to mess with Thanos, by this point, I damn sure for certain do not want to fuck with this guy. Because what he was doing there just to make light of people while keeping the situation extremely tense, I don't want to deal with Thanos at all. It's like, let me call out sick for this week until you guys deal with this. Like, card-carrying Avenger? Bruh. Speaking of card-carrying members of the Avengers, we just got an introduction to the newest Avenger. Peter Parker's Spider-Man has been made an honorary member literally in the span of 5 minutes when shit got crazy. And it was awesome to see Peter interacting with Iron Man and Doctor Strange, and the hilarity that would ensue when you have two people who have both played Sherlock Holmes at the same time. I thought that was really awesome. And then again, you really do see like how the emotional side of things when you have Thanos and how people deal with him and how that is going to affect them in the future. So like Tony, for example, is back on his really... how do I say this? He's back on his really, what's the term I'm looking for? Very paranoid, like to be expected. I mean, because he saw what was coming when he went through the portal in the first Avengers, and then all the events that happened from then to now. Granted, a lot of them were his fault, but he was kind of, I guess you could say, to play devil's advocate or devil's apologist in this case, you could say he was coming from a certain point because he was scared. He was honestly scared of this guy who has so much power. And when he gets there, you know, he's on edge about everything and how they should do certain things. And then when you have someone like Doctor Strange, again, who is a very rigid soul and he wants to do things his way, you know, the banter between them is just hilarious, even though they are arguing. And then you have Peter Parker right there, who, I fucking love Tom Holland, man. I love the humor he brings to the Marvel movies. If people don't love him already by this point, I don't know what to say, man, because he just brings that like new sense of humor to the fray from a younger generation, and he's still quoting, you know, the pop culture references in the movies. And I actually loved how it was kind of meta that they brought it back to Civil War when he referenced Empire Strikes Back, and they were saying, okay, how are we gonna free Doctor Strange here? He's like, okay, have you seen this really old movie, Aliens? Like, I think they knew what they were going for with that. It wasn't just let's make another pop culture reference. It was like, let's make a callback to when he made a pop culture reference. So it was just very funny. I love the way they did that in this movie. The Iron Spider suit, you know, it is still very unattractive to the eye. I think it is one of the most like ugly suits that Parker has had, but In this movie, I feel like it served its purpose. It was functional, especially more so than the comics, because here it does protect him when he's going up into space, and the actual spider legs, which I wish they had saved for the movie itself and it wasn't spoiled by the toy. The actual spider legs do come in handy for collision impact and everything, especially because he's getting thrown like all throughout the freaking sky and space and all that. So it does work in this situation. I will give them that. But yeah, it was just great seeing them interact. It was great seeing Thor with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I just love how Thor has so much more of a character now, because that was my biggest complaint in the first two Thor movies. They just kind of felt by the books. It didn't feel like much was happening in there. It wasn't until Thor Ragnarok where we started to see that, hey, Thor is actually a cool character, and here it's still the same, if not better, because they make Thor, I mean, Thor's always been badass, but we've never really gotten the God of Thunder, like, you should be fearing this guy. We didn't get that until Ragnarok, and now it's just on full display. And Thor has so many great scenes in this movie. I'm just like, man, I want someone to compile all these scenes, man, because they're freaking awesome. And they were, man. Whether it was, you know, his small interactions with the Guardians and the humor that comes with that, or like him getting Stormbreaker and then wreaking havoc, or the final scene with Thanos. Thor is a freaking boss in this movie, and I love the way they handled him here. Like, everyone in here has a lot of good scenes, and the characters that you would always wish would get more time to shine in terms of like showing their feats, you do get to see them. So like Thor and Doctor Strange, for example, were like the two highlights of the movie when it came to people putting in work. I mean, everyone else still has their moments to shine, like Captain America, Black Panther, Rocket Raccoon, you name it. But we've already seen those guys go balls to the wall. It's only been in recent years that we've seen characters like, unfortunately, Thor, which we should have gotten years prior, and the newcomer, Doctor Strange. But taking it back a bit to Thanos and how he acquires the Soul Stone, because this is literally where I geeked out in the movie. And I haven't geeked out in a movie that was, at this point, what time was it? It was like, what, 1:30 in the morning, because I went to go see 11:40 showing, and you know there's like 20 minutes of previews. So by the time we got to the scene and he's getting the Soul Stone, I was like, okay, let's see what this is all about. Ooh, this place looks really interesting. He's got Gamora with him. And you see, like, there's this guy in a cloak, right? And you think that he's just one of these generic, you know, oh, I am the keeper of the Soul Stone, blah, blah, blah. But then when this guy takes off his freaking hood and you see it's the Red Skull, bro, thank God. Like, I knew the Red Skull couldn't have been gone for too long. Like, there was no way in the world they were going to kill one of Captain America's biggest villains just like that. But then again, that was a different Marvel, so maybe they did. But then you realize that they got away with it because he got transferred into the Soul, and now he's the protector of the Soul Stone, or at least the at least he's like the, I'm trying to apply a retail term for this, I don't know. But yeah, he's there. It was so awesome to see him. And then what happens next is really heartbreaking, because in order for someone to acquire the Soul Stone, they have to make a sacrifice, something they love, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, there's nothing in the world that Thanos loves. Wait a minute, this is a movie. Wait a minute, Gamora's here. Uh-oh. And then he says, I'm sorry, little one. And then he, like, literally you would think that he would, like, throw her over the cliff, but no, this man, he just grabs her arm, and he's just like dragging her like that, man. You just see like a look on her face. She's like, no, no, no. And he just lets her go, man. Again, going back to what I was saying about Thanos. This dude is terrifying, because you would think he'd raise his voice and be like, fuck out of here. But no, not at all, man. Not at all. He's just a very calm and collected psychopath. But yeah, he gets all the stones there. And when we actually do see Thanos fight, honestly, I think his encounter with the people on the cosmic side was a lot more interesting than the boots on the ground stuff, for obvious reasons, because you have more interesting characters to play with when you're up there. I mean, you had the Guardians of the Galaxy, you had Spider-Man, you had Iron Man, you had Doctor Strange, and they were all putting in work, man. Like I said, Doctor Strange is the real MVP. He was, I think, giving Thanos the most work out of everyone for obvious reasons. But everyone did put up a good fight, man. It was awesome when they got him in that, like, the hold, and they had each person holding on to a different body part. I was thinking, okay, this is how it's gonna get done. Wait a minute. This is a movie. Oh no, Star-Lord's pulling up. Oh, here we go. Because if there was ever an individual who would just, like, elicit such a strong emotional response given the subject matter and how this guy disappeared with Gamora, it would be the motherfucker from Missouri, which is apparently not on Earth. This guy. And as you could expect, Star-Lord goes crazy when he hears that he sacrificed Gamora, and he's over here wailing on Thanos. That lets him get free and then do what he's got to do. And it's just like, damn it, Star-Lord, damn it. But here's why I'm not so pissed off about him, right? Because it's a human response, of course. Like, we saw Tony go crazy when he saw his parents getting killed. Like, we understand this situation. Even though the stakes are higher than that, I can't feel too bad for Star-Lord. Couple that with the fact that Doctor Strange saw 14 million different outcomes for how they beat Thanos, and there was only one where they survived. And it ended with him giving Thanos the Soul Stone. So I like to think that, okay, this is kind of what needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will like to point out the whole Dragon Ball Z Cell situation where who caused Cell to get more powerful? Was it Vegeta for not killing Cell when he could have? Or was it Krillin for not killing Android 18 or shutting her down, as I will? Like, you get into that sort of situation. But right now, I'm just kind of the neutral party where I'm just like, guys, let's just let this happen. Because if Thanos was going to get bopped right there, wow, you're going to have a really short movie, man. It's just going to end like there. Like, we're just sitting there like, we won, man. So what do we do with this fucking gauntlet, man? Just give it to Spider-Man? That shit would be so funny. Man, but yeah, it was great, man. Like, here's the thing. I feel as if most of the stuff that went down in this movie that was really interesting didn't happen with the Earthbound people. So like Captain America, Wakanda, all that stuff. Not a lot of interesting things happened there. Basically, what you saw in the trailers in those situations, that's what happened. But all the cosmic stuff and everything that you saw that they didn't show in the trailers with Thanos and his origin story, that's what I thought was more interesting. But when you get to the final scene in the movie and Thanos gets all of the Infinity Stones, like, this is where, like, you know Marvel is the real MVP. Because when you saw the trailer where Captain America was holding, you know, Thanos' gauntlet, and Thanos is just like, bitch, like, what? And then Thanos is just like, nope, boom, and he just knocked Captain America down. This scene right here, man, kind of, this is where I started to, I don't want to say I cried, but it started to impact me deeply when Vision was like, okay, we've run out of time. Thanos is here to get the stone. You have to kill me. You have to kill me, Scarlet Witch. And she's like, no, I can't do this. And he's like, you must. You are the only person. And she goes through with it. Normally in movies, it's just like, no, no, no. And then here comes Big Bad Grimace, and he's like, oh, bitch. And knocks her out, but it's like, no. No, she goes ahead and she's killing him. She's destroying the stone. And while she's also throwing off Thanos. And this was really fucked up because you have Wanda over here killing her boyfriend. So this mad titan doesn't come and do it first. Like, that's, like, what type of mental state do you have to be in to process all of that? And it was horrible to think about it. Sorry about that, guys. Camera died while I was recording. I mean, when you're talking about this movie, that seems to be par for the course. So we were talking about Scarlet Witch. She had just succeeded in destroying the Mind Stone, and you have Thanos walking up, and this is, like I said, what makes Thanos one of the creepiest individuals out there. He's comforting Scarlet Witch in his own sadistic way, saying, you know, I too have known the pain of losing someone that I love to get what I want. So let's see that shit again in slow motion. And he whips out the Time Stone, reverses time to the moment right before Vision dies, plops the stone out himself. And by this point, if you do not hate Thanos in some capacity, you've got like some crazy case of a hashtag not all villains syndrome, because this dude is not just bad. This dude is on a new level. Reversing time to kill somebody yourself? It's just like, Jesus Christ, bro. But he succeeds in getting all of the Infinity Stones. He has all the power. And then the next thing you see before he does anything is Stormbreaker whip through, hit him right in the chest. Thor is followed closely behind, bum rushes him, squeezes that shit into Thanos. And then this is where Thor goes on his monologue saying, haha, I told you I'd be back, man. You're gonna suffer for all the lives that you've killed. And then you hear Thanos over here is like gulping up blood. He's like, oh. And Thor's like, what? You should have aimed for the head. And then he snaps his fingers, and just like that. Now, unlike most people who saw this scene, I, for one, wasn't really affected too much by it, because the second that they started to kill off certain individuals like Black Panther, Spider-Man, aka the franchise niggas, the guys who they had just introduced not even 3 years prior, I knew this wasn't permanent because all these guys are vanishing. Like, if it would have been the old guard Avengers, then yeah, sure, maybe. But as it stands, I have no real emotional weight to these guys disappearing since they're gonna be back in a year. And you can't even say like, oh, well, it wasn't surprising to you because you're a comic book guy and you've read this. I'm like, no. Some of the deaths that happened in this movie, such as Loki and Gamora and Heimdall, I was just like, damn, man, that sucks. But in this situation, it's kind of like, yeah, we know Spider-Man's coming back. We know Black Panther's coming back. So for me, the stakes aren't really up there. You know what I'm saying? It would have been crazy if Thanos had straight up snapped somebody's neck towards the end. I would have been like, oh my God. But as it stands, it's just, in my personal opinion, a plot device. And they know it's a plot device just to get you coming back for part 2 to see what happens. And I'm perfectly okay with that. If I had to say I had a flaw in the movie, that would be the only one. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, you guys, there was so much that happened in this movie, and I just loved the scale, the scope, just the sense of hopelessness, helplessness. It was just executed and handled very freaking well. There are so many great like lines and quotes and memes that I'm sure you guys are seeing on the internet, so I'm not really going to regurgitate them. But yeah, it's definitely a movie worth seeing. I need to see it again. I want to see it in IMAX this time, just to see like what they really strive to achieve with this film. And yeah, that's all I really got to say about Avengers Infinity War, man. It's definitely a great movie. I can't wait to see what happens next year. That is going to be the true culmination of everything. That's going to be the end. And we got an entire year just to think on it. Thankfully, it's not 3 years like the normal wait. So for me, for now, my name is NGS signing out. And like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.